Hey, I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And this is our little after Doctor Who episode review and impressions thingy.
Yes.
So, we just watched Under the Lake, episode 4 of season 9 of the new revived Doctor Who series. My impressions were good.
Yeah, good impression. Hey, review over! High-five! Alright, so
It really follows on the last episode.
it does, and
It's kind of the same stuff. It's sort of weird to see a two-parter that feels like the same story.
yeah.
Both parts. It just complicates a little bit in the second part.
At the same time, there were some things I didn't love in this one.
Sure.
There was I'll say it, I was both excited and nervous when I saw the little intro thing where the doctor's like, "I'm Peter Capaldi, allow me to explain to you, the audience, the bootstrap paradox."
Oh yeah, like the talking to the camera thing he does at the cold open, because he did that in Listen.
Yeah, and I loved it.
And it was. I mean, it was much better in Listen. To be fair, like much better. But I think it's like it's a good tactic for Doctor Who. It seems to really work. They're testing it out.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I also think it's something which is kind of distinguishing him from his predecessors. The occasional fourth wall breaking.
But it's this like weird, different mode of storytelling.
Yeah,
That I didn't.
He's expositing a concept to the audience.
Yeah, like in Listen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm saying in both.
Yeah, both.
He's expositing the concept, but he's not really telling you anything about what's happening or what just happened or what's about, you know what I mean?
It's really striking because, of course, he never does this. This is not canonical.
Yeah.
This is after the show Time with Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really effective because
It may indeed, instead of being the Doctor, it may just be Peter Capaldi's
At
walking.
that point in the script, there's just like, Peter Capaldi just says some stuff about the bootstrap paradox. Let him say whatever.
I remember I was reading the interview with the guy who played the Sheriff of Nottingham last season.
Yeah.
And he was like, I saw, him going around in the costume, and I thought to myself, I've seen that before. Who do I know who dresses like that? And then I just thought, oh yeah, that's Peter. That's how
That's how Peter Capaldi already dressed.
Apparently this is how he looked. So we can't guarantee he's not the Doctor.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
Because when he goes to con events, he's wearing basically his Doctor Who costume, which none of the other Doctors ever did.
Mm-hmm.
And like Clara's just like a normal person instead of weird 1950s Clara. Because I know she has this kind of classic, not 50s, maybe 70s aesthetic.
Yeah,
for
70s.
clothing. Yeah,
The story had a 70s thing. For her, specifically.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's had that before, too.
I don't have much of a memory for costumes.
I pay close attention.
Yeah, so I'll be relying on you.
Yeah, she does get this kind of 70s aesthetic a lot.
Yeah.
Which I really like, that the companion has a distinct way of dressing that's not, how do I think modern girls dress?
Yeah.
Gives her a bit of character, especially considering she's becoming more like the Doctor.
Yeah.
As sort of her arc.
And they're making that, they're bringing that in.
Yeah.
Now.
So
They forgot about it.
Yeah, so that she has a sort of distinct mode of dress.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's not in every episode, so I don't expect it to be in every single story being about how she's now the Doctor.
Yeah. I guess it feels weird because the year break, but that's totally unfair to the show.
Yeah.
It feels like, it's been years since that was the plot. Well, no, it's been a year.
Yeah, I didn't think they really forgot so much as like the...
Yeah. They've got more ghosts in this episode. They've got sort of the time travel-y, well, it's not Moffat, obviously, but they've got the, look, isn't time travel crazy? And that works to, mixed effect, but I'd say mixed to positive effect.
Yeah. It's a little different from how Moffat does it, because I feel like with Moffat, it sort of feels like it's just like he always just thinks of this as the way to solve whatever problem it is. Whereas this guy seemed really interested in the idea.
Yeah, it wasn't the twist solution at the very beginning. I think that's what puts it apart. Rather than going it from that, let's talk about just the bootstrap paradox in general for a bit.
For those who haven't seen the episode, what is the bootstrap paradox? Okay. Well, short of editing in a Capaldi clip here.
Yeah.
The bootstrap paradox is basically, so, if you're a fan of a writer or a musician, or, like in this case he uses Beethoven, you are a big fan of them, so you have all their works. You go back in time and find that something has happened to them. Either they never existed, or they don't exist now, or you kill them, or whatever.
Yeah.
So instead, you decide you will take all of these words and write them down.
Yeah.
You know, and thus you become them. And thus the question becomes, who wrote the symphonies?
Yeah.
Who wrote Beethoven?
It's an uncaused existence.
Yeah.
And it can work for information too.
Yep.
So, you know, and that's a thing that you see, like this whole bootstrap paradox thing is just a thing that's been happening in Doctor Who. You know, I haven't watched the old series. It's at least been happening pretty consistently since the revival.
In a lot of Moffat written stories, like it happens in, but
not just Moffat though.
Yeah.
But Moffat really loves it, and he loves it way more than I love it, which is, and right now I'm feeling very well disposed towards Moffat after the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Including this one. This one, the last one. But that is the one thing that consistently makes me wish Moffat were better, is the fact that he over-relies on it.
I don't, like, care one way or the other on it that much. To me, it's kind of, I'm sort of looking at this in this sort of long way. Like, it's like every episode, well, every few episodes being a Base Under Siege story in the 60s, or every story being a master story in the Third Doctor's run. It's sort of like, I just see that as that's what Doctor Who's doing right now.
No. I think that's not good enough necessarily, because, like, right, when it's used as an explanation every story, it doesn't have power. And it's not used every story, that's an exaggeration, for effect. You know, it loses power and it loses impact. So this story just happens to be one of the better uses of it, because it's not the only thing there. That's the reason it's better, not because it uses it better in some way, but because there's also some other mystery going on. The ghosts are still in force. There's a new villain, the Fisher King.
This seemed to me, one of the, and again, shockingly, we do not agree. We are not the same person.
Yeah.
To me, this seemed like one of the more generic uses of it.
Yeah.
As opposed,
that's what I think.
Like, to me, it sort of detracted from the episode, because I felt like the episode thought it was really cool. Whereas, like, a lot of other times, I don't get as much of an impression that the episode is really excited that they have a paradox in it. So much as just they think that that's, like, a thing we should involve time travel. This is the only way I can think of to revive time travel.
The reason it comes off as less, generic, less, is more bearable as a bootstrap paradox, because they introduced bootstrap paradoxes at the beginning, and so they're not trying to trick you. They don't think they're going to surprise you when they inevitably do the bootstrap paradox. They consciously make an effort to make the episode about that. So it's a little bit weird that it's not like one of the better, cleverer bootstrap paradoxes I've seen, but it's not like Doctor Who generally does better. Those are my thoughts.
Yep. I mean, for me, I feel like for me it did seem a little too, I did get a little put off by it, and felt like, well, you know, like, I know what a bootstrap paradox is. I feel like you think I don't. Not only from that explanation, but, like, consistently, you know.
Well, you know, as the writer, they have to bring in the audience no matter what. So if there's 10% of the audience that doesn't know what a bootstrap paradox is, they still ought to include it, because you know, if they don't and people are lost, you know what? Why would people get lost? It's something they do all the time.
Yeah, and
so
even if
forget what I said.
Even if they don't, like, even if I went into this episode never having heard of the bootstrap paradox, like Capaldi saying, well, this is part of history now, Even if he doesn't literally say, bootstrap paradox, bootstrap paradox.
Yeah.
Like, I get the drift. And I feel like part of the problem was, other things for me was that other things which I've included a bootstrap paradox used it felt like over-relying on a tool to solve something a lot like how the sonic screwdriver is over-relied on.
Sure.
Whereas in this, it felt like they were very excited, and they thought I should be very excited that there was a bootstrap paradox in this story, as if I'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
But we differ on something. Shock and awe.
I don't know. You kind of convinced me. Because it's very silly for them to say, oh, look at... let me explain bootstrap paradoxes. No, Doctor Who, we have all the Moffat episodes. We have the Doctor giving his tie to Martha in the Martha's introduction episode in season 3. I know there are other examples.
The one I think another part of the reason it rubbed me the wrong way is also that like they were like, "Isn't this mysterious?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it is." I would agree with it.
It's been mysterious since the concept was thought of.
Yeah, so like if they were bringing in something like the grandfather paradox instead, and had like a grandfather paradox episode, and me really messing up my hair on camera because that's going to look great. You know, then I might be a little more tolerable towards it, which is why I feel like if I'm going to look back, like in 10 years, 20 years from now, I'm going to look, if I look back and watch this episode, I will be better disposed to it. Because I won't be inundated with the bootstrap paradox.
Fair enough.
You actually look really good with the hair messed up.
Oh yeah, I'll keep it like this then. I'm trying to look at a reflection on TV. Anyway, so bootstrap paradox aside,
yeah, let's get into what happens in this story.
Get into the meat of the story.
I'm going to try to power through this.
Sure.
Time me. All right. So, and obviously it's not in exact order because there's a lot of cutting back and forth, so I'll just try to summarize the events. So, we start with, as we mentioned, Peter Capaldi going, look, the bootstrap paradox, it's a thing, isn't Beethoven cool? And then he plays the Doctor Who theme on his guitar.
Oh yeah, that was great. The new theme.
Yeah.
Whether
they keep it or not, it's cool at least.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe it's just this episode.
Man, I don't look forward to doing an acapella of that. But he does that, then we get into, you know, the room where Clara and Cass and Translator Man are talking about, you know, where they're watching the Ghost Doctor and Clara's being depressed and Translator Man goes over to her and is like, hey, Clara, so, what do you usually say to people who are scared?
That's a weird scene.
I want you to know what to tell you. Let me explain my motivations for you here.
Oh, well, now that I know that you're just trying to manipulate me to feel better, it really makes the whole thing feel way more, like, warm and real. Like, who's going to tell someone what to tell them and have them tell them it and then be comforted?
I'm very scared. I think we should get away from those ghosts. I'm saying this because I'm scared of them. So, she talks about how the Doctor will always save them. And
even now, she still thinks he'll save them.
And then
at this point, you know what? Her faith makes sense. You know what? I don't think getting killed is a problem for him.
So then Cass is like, hey, over here. I slapped my ass at you to get your attention. He's actually saying Prentice, Moran, Pritchard,
the Doctorist.
Yeah, the ghost is going off on this.
Yeah. He's listing a bunch of names, including one they don't know, but mostly people on the base.
Yep, and we now see, or we possibly saw earlier, the Doctor getting out of the TARDIS and, you know, goofing around with O'Donnell and Glass's coward scientist.
We actually learned their names, except we didn't learn Glass.
I mean, we technically
learned their names.
We learned their names before.
I mean, we.
Yes. Well, I learned O'Donnell and Cass, but I still got Translator and Glass's coward scientist.
Yeah, O'Donnell is the fangirl.
Yep.
Of the Doctor. So they arrive in 80s place somewhere in England where there's...
They arrive before the flood.
Before the flood.
And it's all decked out like a Soviet thing because it's a training yard. And, like, you know, Stalin portraits, giant Russian dolls.
It's a striking setting, not so much because of the sort of half-hearted small bit, like training area, but because of the vast expanse of green behind it.
Yep.
It's a weird place, and that's always good.
Yes. So, I'm sorry if I'm not responding to this as much. I'm trying to like power through the summary so we can get to discussing things like that.
Sure, but you know, it's as it comes up. I want to discuss it.
I'd like to try to keep the summary as short as
Go
possible.
ahead.
So they're goofing around there, and then they run into the Undertaker, who is indeed that same most invaded planet guy, who's being very amusingly. He's like doing his little coward shtick. He's like, and I'm burying our conqueror. We were, you know, getting very excited that he was conquered for 10 glorious years, and then angry that they got freed from oppression. Then suggesting they try to conquer him.
He makes it sound like a kinky thing.
Yeah.
Also, which is a different tact.
Yeah. He's very flirty about it. Like, yeah. You know, I got a map to my home capital and a variety of tools you could oppress me with. So it was very... He's kind of...
Even beyond that, I liked his manner where he's like, lots of people hate us, laughing about it, and the Doctor's like, I don't know.
He's very fun. So he sort of does his shtick. He's an Undertaker, and he's taking this guy to be buried on this barren, desolate world, Earth.
Yeah.
So now the Doctor calls Clara up.
Yeah.
And again, this is out of order. Clara is like, and it's like, Clara, how's it going over there? She's like, you're not dead. And he's like, yeah, I noticed. He's like, well, you've got to go. She's like, oh, guess I am dead. Like, well, no, you could, like, not die. And he's like,
at this point, this is pretty mundane for the Doctor. Hell, I was just talking about how mundane it was for the Doctor last story when it happened again.
And he's like, no, I have to die. I'm definitely going to die. He's like, well, your ghost is saying all these names, like, you know, Moran, Pritchard, Prentice, O'Donnell, etc., etc. Yeah. O'Donnell, Clara, Doctor.
Always in that order.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I need to make sure, this is bad. Oh, gosh, goodness, the ghost is now in the room, and he's opening the Faraday cage where we lock all the ghosts.
So now all the ghosts are out.
Yep. Now you need to be very careful, Clara. You go right back into the Faraday cage and hide and keep your phone. But unfortunately, this phone can talk through over a century, but I can't get into a Faraday cage. So leave it outside. And so she goes to do that, and
the Doctor Ghost also starts saying a different message.
Yeah,
he starts saying, "What
the chamber will open."
The chamber will open.
I assume he would use a Scottish accent.
Yeah. Anyway, so they run off to the cage,
and so now the Doctor, he's leaving the. They just said he and Glasses Scientist and O'Donnell are about to go back out to stop the to go deal with this Fisher King problem, figure out what they need to do, and they find Prentice is dead. The writing had not been on the wall before, and it's back now.
Yeah.
Very mystery. And so then the Fisher King's around, so they have to run away. And
we don't see him.
No, we don't see him until the end of the episode.
Until the end of the episode.
Fortunately for the quality of this effect. We do not see him.
He doesn't look very good. But he looked pretty good when we didn't see him.
Yeah.
So that's good cinematography up at that point.
Yeah. So they have to go run away from this monster. And so they run, and Glasses Scientist and the Doctor hide in one place, and O'Donnell hides in another place. And then she gets shanked.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
And she's lying on the ground dying, and Glasses Scientist runs over.
He's like, we've had a romantic subplot this whole time!
Did I miss it in the first episode?
I haven't rewatched the first episode, but I think either both of us missed it, or just they forgot to put it in.
They didn't hint at it.
They didn't have any chemistry.
Yeah.
So, and she's like, yes, we had that romantic subplot, now I'm dying. And she's dead.
The closest thing to a moment of anything was earlier when the Doctor was saying that she should stay in the TARDIS, and then she's like, no, I insist you don't. And he's like, oh, maybe there's Does he say maybe she should stay behind, or maybe I'm
Yeah, it is
inventing
like,
that?
oh, she never listens to people's suggestions.
Yeah, that's what she says. So that's the closest moment to her, like, oh, this is how they are
That
together.
literally he knows one of her character traits.
That's true, because
a character trait which got her fired from her job once. So it's not even like a subtle trait. So he's like, yes, we're romantic. We have romantic feelings for each other. I'm very sad about this. And then he gets up and he's like, Doctor, you totally knew that was going to happen, didn't you? He's like, yeah.
He's like, because the order of the names from your ghost in the future are the same as the order we've been getting killed.
He explains that the Doctor repeating names in an order is wrong. You know, he gives that sort of like, you don't care about people, all you care about is yourself, and you'll only like change time to help yourself. And he's like, no, I'll only change time to help Clara.
Which, that's actually a pretty interesting scene.
Yep.
Because, well, it's true, he doesn't feel he can help the others. He's decided he's already going to die.
Yep.
So, and all the others who have died are also going to die. But Clara hasn't definitely died. But, you know, he's being made to feel guilty for it, and maybe he should. It's a weird situation, it's not clear.
Yep, he definitely, I kind of agree with Glass's coward scientist that he could have done a little more to warn O'Donnell.
Yeah.
That he had this hypothesis.
That she was going to die
That
next.
she was going to die, yeah. But, so, unfortunately not. So,
oh yeah, in the future, of course.
In the future, O'Donnell's ghost shows up, and she's very sorry that she was late for the party.
Ooh, there was a good jump scare.
It was a very effective jump scare.
It's rare that I say that.
Yeah, she shows up and then she steals the cell phone and runs away.
Yeah.
And
I really like that setup. I know you want to rush through these, but
yeah.
I like to think of them as they come. But I really like the setup with the phone outside, because already it's sort of a nasty situation, the feeling like you have to go outside at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get trolled, because it just grabs the phone and leaves.
Yeah. So she grabs the phone and leaves, and then Clara's like, okay, translator boy, you don't have the words imprinted on your brain, so you'll turn into a ghost.
Yeah. Because she never went to the ship.
Yeah.
As you pointed out to me, and I missed. Somehow.
And so you should probably go get the phone. And Cass is like, what the fuck is your problem, Clara? He could totally die. He's like, he'll be fine. They don't want to kill him because, you know, he's not...
They've just shown enough initiative to grab the phone to disrupt us, but they wouldn't think of killing this guy just to keep us from getting something done, right?
Right. Yeah, so they have a bit of an argument, and this is the point that I go from liking Cass to thinking Cass was the best character in this episode to thinking she's, you know, one of the better characters from the last couple seasons, one episode characters. Because this actress is very good.
She's very expressive.
Yeah.
Every shot of her face.
But she went from
something new.
Yeah, she went from the sort of generic thing to getting. She's conveying this desperation and this anger a lot, because she can't talk.
Everything else is wrong. Why is it now that translator guy has to go out and possibly die? So this doesn't seem fair to her, and of course it wouldn't seem fair to her. And then they give her the spiel too about how come she gets to make the call about who's risking their life. And it's like, oh, a little echo there because it's Clara and this is the
I actually hadn't noticed, but yeah, good job with the mirroring.
Yeah.
And she basically yells at Clara after the guy goes, I do not need a translation of that. Not because she actually got it, not because she actually understood, but because it was so obvious how pissed she was with the signing. Which definitely helped that he wasn't translating everything she said, because last time when she was yelling at the doctor about how this was their friends, and you kind of got his translation being like, Doctor, these are our friends, why are you... Even though she was very physical, he wasn't getting the same anger, which made sense in character.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the doctor... So then the guy's wandering and getting, chased by ghosts, but they don't actually kill him. And he finds the phone in the mess hall where the ghosts dropped it. And then he gets locked in the mess hall.
Yep.
Good job.
Still, I feel like the ghost probably could have killed him.
They probably could have.
Well, maybe that's some specific thing they can't do, intend to kill without it spreading the message.
I mean, they did have a chance to kill him last episode and passed.
Yeah, true.
It was. I agree with Clara, but I understand why somebody who actually cares about him would be pissed off.
Yeah, because really, there wasn't such a clear sense that he was safe.
I'd not been worried about him, so like
I was worried ever since she took the phone. I was like, if they're thinking to take the phone, who's saying that they really are only going to do that? Maybe before they're like, oh, he'll look at the writing eventually.
Yep.
But now they're being pragmatic and solving problems.
Yeah. I mean, I was expecting maybe the phone will be placed in the machine, so that he would have to look at the writing to get it.
Oh yeah, they should have done that. That would have been like creepy and mindless, the way that ghosts have been acting this whole time.
Yeah, but instead but whatever it was, he goes and he gets the phone
and gets locked in,
and he gets locked in the room, and they're like, "Haha, we've locked you in the room. Take that." And Clara and Cass decide to go after him.
This is the best part, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Clara and they split up because Clara forgets that Cass is deaf.
Oh yeah, she's like, okay, we just got to make sure we stay together, okay? And Cass reads her lips, and then Clara just wanders off in one direction without telling Cass that she's going there.
And then she goes back and she tries to whisper to get her attention, the attention of the deaf woman,
and realizes how stupid she is, and we get a little laugh.
We get this sequence which I really loved, where Cass is being chased and, is responding with her face to getting gradually more and more nervous and getting a feeling that she is being followed.
Yeah.
Bit by bit, more and more convinced of it, but we can't see her, but then we'll cut away and see the guy walking and dragging an axe on the ground.
Yeah. And they do the thing where the sound cuts out whenever we're in her perspective, because, it always helps every little bit to get someone into a character's head.
Yep, and one thing they did, this is another reason why I think it's Beethoven, who was deaf. Was he the composer who was deaf?
Yes, he did become deaf.
So that's another reason talking about Beethoven early on helped. Because Beethoven also used vibrations to see if he was making good music. Whereas she uses vibrations to see if there is someone standing behind her with an axe.
She could turn around.
I think her thing was she felt if she turned around, he might charge her.
Yeah, which I think was fair.
So she decides to use this thing.
Yeah.
And the way she kneels down as well, she doesn't kneel down like she's like, I'm going to look at the floor and make a big deal of how I'm reaching for the floor. Yeah. She kneels down like she's tying her shoe.
Yep.
And then touches the ground and then sees and then dodges an overhand axe swing and runs into Clara.
It's an important part of cinematic storytelling that we got all that. The fact that she was all the logic of the moment without anyone being able to say, here's what she did.
Yep.
And that's important. Every shot counted to create that tense situation, to create the logic of how she figured out to listen to the ground, to figure out she was really being pursued.
Yeah. So she and Clara run away and they run along with they run into the mess hall and the guy's like, hey, it was a trap. Wait, what are you guys doing out here? Is this a terrible plan? And then they have to run away. So meanwhile, we go back into the past and play some shitty games that suck ass. But before we can do anything fecal with the buffalo, the doctor is going into the church basement and he's talking to the Fisher King.
Yeah.
Well, first he said, he has a little bit where, he's like, okay, we're going to go back to the underwater base.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And no one can stop me. And then the TARDIS cloister bell rings and stops him. And he shows back a couple minutes before he got there.
Yeah.
And he won't let Glasses Coward Scientist stop O'Donnell from dying.
Now we get the Father's Day thing, little echoes of that episode.
Yep. Though he doesn't say, even though I kind of jokingly said it, he does not say, time ghosts will, time bats will eat your face.
Time gargoyles will destroy you if you do that.
Yep. Now I'm out of water. Good thinking, Matt. Good plan.
Well, do you need it?
A little bit.
Okay. Go forth.
Go forth.
Cut. And we're back.
Woo! So he doesn't say time bats will eat your face.
Yeah.
He says, like, you can't do it. You can't rewrite history. Not one lie.
No, he doesn't say that. That was a different guy.
You're right. That was the
maybe a different doctor of some sort.
That was the like 1 month older actor to play the doctor.
Oh, they're that close in age.
Yeah.
I guess it's the guitar that makes Capaldi feel younger.
Yeah, I mean, he is not trying to act old.
True. Yeah, actually, that's part.
Like the guy's previous role, he'd been a military sergeant, so he wasn't a doddering old man.
Yeah. So
he's not dying in like a caravan that in an episode that never happened.
And if it did, would never end. Ever.
That's how we know it didn't happen, because if there was an episode featuring Marco Polo, then it would never be able to end. So, he explains why you can't rewrite history.
Yeah.
Without
ripples that will destroy the world and cats will rule it.
Yeah.
Or something.
Without being attacked by time bats.
Yeah.
So the time bats are not an issue in this one.
Yeah.
However, the paradox is, so he won't let him do it, and he tackles the guy, and he gets a rip on his jacket because his future ghost had a rip on his jacket, and you see like, oh no, now we really need to get into this.
Yeah. It's like, okay, now I'm convinced that I'm in trouble, and I better do this right.
Yep.
So then he goes down to the basement.
Yep. And first he tells Glasses Howard scientist to go hide in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Runs into the basement, and he argues with the Fisher King.
Yeah.
Who is called the Fisher King because of the many ties to that medieval tale that this episode has.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Like, for example, he looks kind of like a fish, and this place ends up underwater.
They did it.
Yeah!
So, yeah, the Fisher King's still in the shadows, and they have a chat. I'll let you take it.
Yeah, and the Fisher King's just like, Doctor, you are... I will take over the world with all my ghosts, and they will send a message to an invading army.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, I don't think that's going to happen. I won't let it happen. I'm going to smack you back. He doesn't literally smack him, but he's like, I'm going to stop you. He's like, you can't stop me. I can. I erased the words.
Yeah.
And the problem was, I interpreted it at first as him saying, I've erased the words literally from my mind.
That's what I thought he said, and then later on it will show that he can do that. So it's weird, but that...
But the Fisher King then ran out.
Because then he points to his head.
Yeah.
When he says, I erased the words. So of course you would assume he meant from his mind. But actually, what the Fisher King assumed, and what he was intending the Fisher King to assume, was that he meant he literally, erased the message in the ship.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the Fisher King runs out to check, and then, we cut to the chase, we keep cutting back and forth to the chase happening in the 1980s, and where they're getting attacked by, into the 2130s, where they're getting attacked by ghosts.
They can't get back to the Faraday cage, they keep getting cut off.
Yep. And then they keep getting cut off, and here was a minor annoyance vibe. There's no reason you can't run through a ghost.
Yeah, they didn't have weapons this time.
And the doctor, maybe there was something the doctor said after he faked being injured by a ghost grabbing him. It could have been haha, you don't know I have two hearts.
No. Yeah, I guess that would have to be it, otherwise...
But I just heard it's haha, you suck because you're incorporeal.
Yeah.
It's well, why can't they just run through the ghost?
That's weird, yeah.
But they're being chased by these incorporeal beings, which again in no way stop them. And yet they are still terrified of, because these actors are physically on the set and they don't want to run into them before the after effect thing is put on.
Yeah.
So they all get chased into the room with the box, coffin from last time. And then we see the Fisher King discover the words were still there, and the dam explodes, and all the water crashes down. And then we cut to the modern time where the Doctor's like, "Ha-ha! I was in the box all along!"
There's no precedent for the Doctor emerging from weird time capsules, right?
Yeah. And so the Doctor lures all the ghosts into the Faraday cage by imitating the screams of the Fisher King. And
it is revealed that his ghost just disappears.
Yep.
A hologram.
Yep. He's like, you see, I never died. I just programmed a hologram to do all that, and that's why you needed to have the phone near you.
Who would have thought that there would be some kind of trick where he
some sort of bootstrap paradox, perhaps. So yeah, I didn't really die. It just made me think I would die, but I knew I needed to say you would die, or else I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So then, like, he clears everybody off. Like, he erases the things from their mind with his sonic sunglasses.
The messages.
Yeah. Which, if he could have just done that, like, it takes like a minute, maybe.
Yeah, it would have made them not die.
Yeah. Why did he not put that on them in the Faraday cage before?
That's
like
really terrible.
I would have been like I would have much preferred that scene take place in the TARDIS with him like taking some machine from the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Where you could be like, yeah, obviously I was not able to get back to the TARDIS before now, as opposed to, it turns out I had the memory thing the whole time. There was some fun. There was some good lines.
Still could have saved
O'Donnell
if it had been in the TARDIS.
Yep.
So I mean that just seems like a serious plot hole because, well, as long as it's there, the Doctor's character kind of gets screwed up.
Yep.
But ignoring that, I guess, because we have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I could say maybe he assumed the words wouldn't be in the past, and by the time he was worried O'Donnell might get hurt, he was like, oh shit, now that's actually in our history, so I can't.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
But with the other ones, if he had the glasses the whole time, so it being in the TARDIS would have been a better idea. Anyway. So then he, cures Clara and Cass and has very basic dialogue. You'll forget the words and maybe some other things. Oh, yeah. People, places, how to drink fluids. That was entertaining. And then he goes back to Coward Glasses Scientist. Sorry, Glasses Coward Scientist. I think that's his name, right? Glasses Coward Scientist is like, translator boy. As your fellow unnamed character, allow me to ask you to give Deaf Commander a message. And the translator was like, her name's Cass, we know this now. But she'll always be Deaf Commander to me. Tell her that you too have a romantic subplot with her.
This one a little bit more believable and extant.
And have been mentioned before, and at all foreshadowed.
Yeah.
And so, make sure that you mention this before she gets killed and turns into a ghost that repeats the same words. Or something.
Don't be like me.
Don't be like me and forget that you have a romantic subplot. And so then the cast is like, what did he say? He's like, he said, I have a romantic subplot with you.
Well, presumably he says that, and now I'm signing when I shouldn't because I don't know sign language. But yeah, so then they have
this. You probably know American and not British.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so they have this entirely this
little sign conversation.
Sign conversation.
So he presumably signs to her, I have a romantic subplot with you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, wait, no, I'm sorry, that was just, he said to say, and then she kisses him, and it's very romantic.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for them. Even though I didn't necessarily want there to be a romantic subplot before, I cared enough about the character of Cass that I was like, yeah, she gets the boy!
Yeah.
And then the Doctor and Clara swat off to go fight Arya Stark next episode.
Yeah, something. Fight with her.
With or against her.
With Vikings.
Space Vikings.
Space Vikings.
Space Vikings!
So, yeah, that wraps it up. I'm very satisfied because, mostly because the ghost sections were exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Reviewing the episode now, the rest is perfectly fine, perfectly decent.
Serviceable,
Serviceable. I thought in particular that the scene with Cass is, especially good horror film.
Yeah.
Or rather, TV storytelling.
Yep.
Like excellently shot and creepy and tense, because of course they've made this character great, and they've really worked with the fact that she is deaf to create this problem for her. Mm-hmm. That's a thing I really love in horror moments,
mm-hmm.
when there's just a stupid, unfair thing that is working against our main characters.
Yep.
That this stupid ghost is just dragging his axe. Unfair to the character, but not unfair.
Unfair but not cheap, basically.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, just dragging the stupid axe. It's super loud, but she cannot hear it.
Yep.
And we can hear it.
Yep. And they play up the sound of it, because he dragged an axe before and it wasn't that loud.
Yeah.
You know, they play up how unfair it is for her.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's not totally helpless, because she does get out of the situation, and not by being saved. She gets herself out,
mm-hmm.
which also matters.
Yes, because
otherwise she's just kind of like, oh no, poor me, I died because I was deaf, as opposed to
yeah.
I'm deaf, I can figure this shit out anyway.
Well, she was always a hero, or
yeah.
like, you know, a heroic character.
Yeah, she was a very, as I said, I really liked her. She's gone from just like, I like this particular character, to, in this episode, to, I feel like she's been one of the better characters of the last few seasons.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Not just like distinct, but like she's got, the actress is so good. Her face is very elastic,
mm-hmm.
which is a weird way to praise someone, but
when she's like freaking out, she looks like she's falling apart. Like,
yeah,
like, are you okay? Are you gonna be okay?
Yeah. Well, to me, she didn't look like she was falling apart, but she looked like she was close to falling apart.
Sure.
Which, like, she came out like, I'm barely holding it together, but I'm fucking holding it together.
Mm-hmm.
But I am gonna snap at Clara. So she was...
Possibly. She might be saying something polite.
She's just very aggressively going, I personally disagree with this decision, but I respect your experience in this situation. And I was like, I don't need that translated. She just said, fuck you. She's like, why were you so rude to me earlier? She's like, but I just said I respect your authority in this situation. That's what that means. Probably not, but... yeah, so she was great. The romantic subplot with O'Donnell and Glass's coward scientist,
yeah,
very much came out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, it wasn't there, so in a weird way, its ability to ruin the episode is limited, because it just sort of is there out of nowhere and then is gone.
Yeah. It's like, so the guy wasn't even fully sure at the time. I was like, wait, so is this, are they having this moment because they actually liked each other? This feels a little too intimate for, like, we were co-workers for a couple of months.
But let's see, there's some great scenes in the past.
The other problem I had with
it
was between the cutting back and forth to the past and the present.
Mm-hmm.
I just get this to chew on and to gesture with. It's so useful.
Yeah.
So between the past and the present, we have these scenes of like, I didn't have time to get as invested in either situation as I was last time, because I was cutting back and forth, so neither felt like they were going on a full adventure.
I didn't have that experience, is what I will say.
It's fine.
I don't know, there's very limited, I think, that we can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Just that both ended up feeling relatively complete. If anyone was just the add-on experience, I guess it was the doctor's, because he's working to resolve the exciting situation that's happening in the other half.
Yeah, what I would have done if I'd made this was, instead of being like half and half, I would have made it like almost entirely in the present, and then like cutting back just for like maybe like a minute at most.
Total?
Not total, but like at a time.
So let's
to give like some clues about what's going on. That led
so
up.
it would be like an incomplete update, but incomplete one.
Yeah.
So you could lose some stuff. This is interesting, because I like talking about how things could be better. I'm not sure if it needs it, but if it did need it, you would lose the whole, oh, you can't save your friend thing.
I would.
Yeah, you'd lose that.
What I might do, like, what I think I'd do for one example is I'd start with, I'd have them go get back to the Faraday cage, maybe have a little more excitement getting there or something. And then they get there, and a scene of them talking for a little longer. Then O'Donnell shows up.
The ghost?
Yeah. And then, like, a little bit of, like,
so then we're like, oh God, O'Donnell's is dead.
Then a little bit of how O'Donnell gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
And I would cut short the lead into his confrontation with the Fisher King. And even though we both knew the whole time that the Doctor was going to be in the case,
yeah,
I would show the Fisher King walk away from. I would not have positioned the Doctor right in front of the thing as if he's about to fall in.
Oh yeah, when he was pushed in that direction, I almost thought he was going to fall in then.
Yeah, like I would not position him there. I position him like across the room, and I would show the Fisher like the last
King would be behind, right next to it, right?
Yeah, and the last thing you would see is the Fisher King like shove him over, and it looks like he gets knocked unconscious or something,
mm-hmm.
and then the Fisher King seems to be walking away, and then and maybe have like a few shots repeatedly of the bomb. The power supply went off and destroyed the dam.
Yeah.
Which is why this is a lake now. And like a few shots of that, like it's getting close, but never really but not like showing, the Fisher King walks out and then there's the bomb and then it explodes. Because then I'm not surprised when it's the Doctor. Whereas there's there would be sufficient ambiguity that like the Doctor, seems to be in big trouble, that he'd be like, yeah, like I'm really to believe, okay, you were able to stand up and get in
and get into a thing that would save your life.
Yeah.
But my version of the events is if the Fisher King's out there, checks the words in the spaceship, sees they're still there, and then he's like, oh God, the dam is breaking. Okay, I gotta get to my pod. Runs over, runs into the basement, runs to the pod, and the Doctor's in there, is like, sorry, occupied. And just closes the doors and locks it.
Yeah. And
then, of course, that would cut immediately to the Doctor emerging from the pod, so that since they want it to be a mystery, although it's not likely to be one.
If there's like any ambiguity,
as to what's going to happen, then
any possibility except
but we can see him literally outside. Of course, he's not going to get back in.
We see him outside, and we see the thing exploding in the dam, like collapsing. And I feel like they could do this really cool special effects shot.
Oh yeah, the effects shot. It's weird. I forgot that the effects look good because I was looking at the Fisher King and thinking about what they could do to fix it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like the cool special effects shot where like the dam is breaking and all the water is splashing down and destroying this awful CGI Fisher King.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Fisher King was a prop, but him getting destroyed there was.
Mm-hmm.
But like that was a good shot.
Yep.
So they really wanted to share.
Raised his arms. Like, what does that mean? Is this like a
Are you Moses?
Is this a Fisher King? Is this like a Fisher King species thing? Is this you yourself? Is this like, oh my God, I'm going to die? Is this like a religious thing?
Oh no!
Like, but joking aside, like I'm genuinely wondering.
Yeah.
Like, because you can see that he's just completely given up hope.
Yeah, and I feel like they had this idea that it would be a cool shot, but it kind of ruins the Doctor coming out of that.
Yeah.
Because like with like the lead, as soon as you see the bomb at the base of the thing, you're like, oh, yeah, so the Fisher King's dead and the Doctor's in there. And then like you wait several more seconds.
Yeah.
Like almost 15 seconds before the Doctor pops out. And 15 seconds doesn't sound like a long time.
But it's a lot of time when it comes to expectations.
Yeah, it's a lot of time for you to be like, oh, what a shock. The guy who was practically standing inside that thing was inside it, and not the guy who was on the other side.
To spread out the things you learn such that there would be the minimum of shock.
Yep. And I wouldn't have the romantic subplot between O'Donnell and Glasses Coward Scientist. Cause
well,
it only exists
so that he can say, "Oh, you should have your relationship while it can last." Also, death is a theme in this episode, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like you don't need to lose someone you love to say maybe you should talk to somebody like to be affected by tragedy.
Yeah,
like it didn't have to be a romance thing. It would be like, I wish I'd told her in time.
Yeah,
could have just like, look, like this now look, things can happen that are crazy. Just be careful. And let her know this. Not because I was in love with someone, but just because it's important. You know. So, aside from the few things I didn't like, I really liked it.
I think it's a great story. It's wrapped up, and I can put this one and the last one together as one of my favorite stories of Doctor Who.
Yeah. I like
top 10 for sure.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think the last one, like I would have given like 9 or a 10 out of 10. This one I'd give more 7 or an 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
probably like a 7.
It's a substantial drop.
It's a substantial drop, but it still like concludes the previous events in a largely satisfactory manner.
Yep, it still draws on what we already saw from the last
story. It's got some great acting.
Got some great acting from of course,
from Cass and from Cass's actress, obviously.
Yeah,
and from Capaldi, dealing in the TARDIS with like trying to subtly suggest that O'Donnell will not get killed without saying, my theory is that you're going to get killed
if you leave the TARDIS, so stay here.
Yeah. Because he also doesn't want to mess with the timeline, I guess. He doesn't want to mess with the timeline, but he also doesn't want to he doesn't want to scare her if it's not necessary.
He still wasn't. He didn't think having her leave was necessarily a death sentence. He was not convinced.
Yeah, but like him saying, you know, keep the phone nearby. I need to know everything that my ghost says.
Yeah,
which he says because he knows he needs to know everything the ghost says, so he can later program it. Yeah, there were some minor things in this that like if it was a standalone episode I wouldn't have loved. Together, this forms a pretty good storyline. And the last episode was just blew me out of the water. And the performance of Cass's actress really drew this one up for me. From something that I was kind of like, meh, if it hadn't had that amazing performance. So next week, unless there's anything else we want to say.
Oh, nothing in particular.
Yeah,
I'm set.
And like I guess as I said earlier, my final thought was that if we were to wait 10 years, 20 years, I'm sure I'd like this episode a lot more. Once I'm not inundated by this paradox.
What if Moffat is still running the show in 20 years?
Oh my god, no, not another JNT situation. So yeah, next episode, Vikings. Cyborg Vikings.